Well, hello. What's up?
Hi.
Welcome to our virtual book club. Um, Parents read the darndest things. So we're gonna start. We're gonna do it. I'm Lane, and I'm a children's library associate, and I'm with my coworker. She's right there.
I'm Kayla. I'm an adult services library assistant. So Lane and I work in totally different worlds when we're at the library, but this group is a place where we can come together, where parents can come together, and they can talk about the things where our worlds collide.
There it is. That's what this book club is for. So it's usually when we're meeting in person, we have me bringing toys for kids. We'll bring some snacks if we got them. We entertain the kids so that the parents can sit and talk about books or whatever. We've had some really cool conversations that were nothing about books, so that was fun too. Cool.
Yeah. It's a really fun place for parents to kind of de-stress and talk about parent things with each other and meet other parents and kind of find relatable topics. And the books can kind of act as a segue for those things to get discussed.
And we read all kind of books. We read young adult books. We read parenting books, we read nonfiction, and we read some picture books too. So we're going to start talking about our young adult book, which is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. Is it Rory Power?
It's Roy Power. There's no S. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
Rory Power.
That's a strong name. Okay, so we're gonna tell you a little bit about the book, and then we're gonna go into some discussion. So we might, if you don't want to be spoiled, then you can check with us later. But we'll start with just like a good synopsis. Do you want to take it off, Kayla?
Yes. Okay. So it's a YA horror book, but it has a lot of sci-fi and dystopian elements in it. Basically, we follow the story of three girls and we read the story from the point of view of two of them. And they're on Raxter Island, just off the coast of Maine, I think. And so they're totally isolated. They have a contagion called the tox that has infected the island. They're quarantined in their boarding school, and it's just the students, one teacher, and the headmistress. And so, out of our little trio that we focus on, one of them goes missing, and our main girl, her name is Hetty, we follow her and kind of see everything through her point of view. She wants to just go get her best friend back, but that means going into the island and seeing all the horror that the tox has brought upon it and trying to survive it. So these girls have all kinds of mutations from the tox, and it's inexplicable. And of course, that's why they're quarantined because they don't know how it's contagious or anything like that. We've got like scaly clawed hands, extra spines, blisters and bruises for no reason, and they just kind of evolve with it. So that's kind of our synopsis. And then we have some points we wanted to talk about with everybody. But I think Lane and I just kind of wanted to have more like an organic conversation. And then y'all just chime in with comments, or you can hop on our Discord, which we'll link to, our Goodreads account, and tell us what you think. Okay?
Yeah, that sounds okay. So, what's our first? Where did we want to start? I know there's so much to unpack and a lot of relevancy to the times. So we can
Yes,
kind of.
I love it, as you know, because of the tagline. They told us to wait and stay alive. I feel like that's super relevant. And this book only came out last year, so it's like, did Roy Power know what was coming? Like,
She's
it's kind of
definitely
crazy.
psychic.
Yeah. But I mean, I like that it's relevant, even though it's scary. So it's kind of like escapist fiction, but it still gives you things to think about your real life. I think we should start just talking about the characters because that's going to lead us into a lot of other things. So we know we've got Hetty, who is the main one, Byatt, who is one of her best friends who goes missing, and then Reese, who is kind of like the third part of their trio, and Byatt kind of kept them together. And when she goes missing, it's like a weird friction between Hetty and Reese. So, what'd you think about Hetty? or any of them.
I think I've maybe mentioned this point before, and it was very strange to read a young adult book where I didn't connect with them. And it was not difficult to relate, but they seemed very much like a product of a situation rather than characters. And that was it was strange to read, and it made the talks feel more real to me. So I definitely struggled with liking some of them sometimes. Um, Hetty in particular didn't. Um, there wasn't very many likable moments for her for me. Like I didn't see her as this character that I really connected with, but I was following her storyline. It didn't really matter if I liked her or not. It was just what was happening, and that was strange in a young adult book because usually they're all about like connectability, like
Yeah,
the girl before, and there was none of that in this book.
yeah. It was like, I think you put it in a good way when you told me before. They were built for the story wasn't built around them. And I agree, like, if the Hetty didn't have like a lot of likable moments, I didn't like hate her, but she was almost kind of like flat. If we had seen the story from somebody else's point of view, it wouldn't have bothered me. But I was also like more involved in the talks and kind of how it was affecting everything, that I wasn't solely focused on how it was affecting Hetty because it was affecting everybody. That was just like the one thing that was our point of view to see everything.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting way to present characters in this. They're not individuals, and I think we talked about that a little bit. And their individual characteristics aren't as important as the ongoing bigger story, and how they play a part in it or their aspect of it. And it's very, I guess, in a situation like that, you're not worried about being likable. You're just doing things. You're just living. Like that's it. And
Yeah.
that's an interesting thing. It was really interesting, especially for a young adult book, that your characters didn't have likability and it wasn't important. And it didn't take away from the book. I think it added to it a lot. It made the talks and the situation seem the bigger the bigger character of its own. Like it made the talks a
Yeah.
character.
Yeah, like I agree. It made the Tox its own character. It really made us think the Tox is our focus, like the Tox is the enemy, and it's like the question that we have to find the answer to, and it doesn't matter like what our vehicle for finding that answer is. All of these girls are going through the same thing. We just picked one, and that's the one we followed. But I agree, I don't think it made it like a bad story. It just like it was interesting that the characters were not really the focus of the story. It wasn't really super about how they developed as individuals. It was all focused on the talks. And I think it's interesting and it kind of makes it more relatable to things that are going on now with the quarantine and everything. You know, all of these girls are there together, they're going through the same thing, and it takes away from their individuality. And that kind of sucks. In quarantine, you lose a lot of your uniqueness because you can't do all the things that made you unique. We all have to adhere to these certain rules about staying inside and sheltering in place and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I
But
think that's one of the things that made this book super relevant. And aside from its just relatability, there wasn't much, but relevancy, it was really spot on. We're all kind of facing some form of the talks right now. And if you would have said a year ago that we would have been doing this, I'd have been like, no way, this book is complete. Like, it's, fantasy. It's just not real. But
yeah,
it is. And I can see elements of that kind of like, let's just get through it. And then we'll worry about who we are later, especially in uh, not Reese, not Hetty, Bryant. Um,
Byatt, the one who got taken.
oh gosh. Yes, I think that her more than any of the other characters is very much like not survival mode, but like I am a product of the talks more than anyone else. And I don't know why I felt that way, but I did. I
Yeah.
think she,
I thought it was interesting when we got into her head, when we finally got to read from her point of view after she was taken. And yet she was focused on the talks, but it was in such a different way than Hetty is focused on the talks. Like she's figured out what it is inside her and that it's like really parasitic and how it's affected her so much more extreme than the way that it affects other girls. And Hetty is just kind of like, oh, the tox is happening. It's fine. Like, somehow we're going to get through it. And Baya, it's just like, the tox is happening. I'm not sure we're going to get through it. This is just how I have to live now. Yeah.
Yeah,
But while she was at Raxor, I don't feel like she really let it affect her and like bring her down. Or it wasn't like her only focus. Like, she was going for all these walks. She was playing in the ocean and all the streams and everything. And she had a lot of like focus on herself. And everybody else is kind of focused on each other.
yeah, that was I don't know, she was just an weird character for me. I didn't dislike her. She was just
I didn't like her that much. I didn't think she was great, like as a person. I thought she was
no.
written well, but I thought she was really selfish and manipulative. And you also never find the root of that.
Yeah, it's like she was just I guess it really did demonstrate like how everyone kind of handled the talks just a little differently. So maybe that was where they became individuals, where some people were like, we're just gonna get through it, we're gonna power through, we're gonna like protect our friends, I'll go find them. And then some were like, I'm gonna manipulate this, like to my advantage, like I am who I am. I guess it really just showed that people handle this kind of situations differently. It still didn't make anyone more likable or dislikable, but it made them all very to be such like a product of their environments. They were still very interesting characters. So not flat in a bad way, but flat in a way that every single one of them felt more like a product of environment than nurtured into something, which is interesting and very dystopian.
It makes me think of like the nature versus nurture debate, except these aren't like really young kids anymore. You know, they were 14, 15, all the way up to like 18. But like the way that the adults treated them, which would be like the nurture, and then the tox, which is the environment, the nature, they were really different, but they also had some really negative similarities. I did not like the adults in this novel. There were only two of them. I didn't like either of them. Yeah. They were just as infectious as the tops with their negativity.
Yeah.
And I think it was a lot about like, the girls were relying on these adults. They trusted them to get them through this. And when you're looking at things in the beginning from Hetty's point of view, you want to trust them too, because these are just kids and these are the people who are supposed to take care of them. But then, even though we don't see things from the point of view of the teacher or the headmistress, you still kind of learn with not the headmistress, the teacher situation, that she was trying to do her best, but her opinion of the best wasn't great for everybody. Like she was keeping secrets from the students and not trusting them. But in this extreme situation, I think trust is something you have to be more open about. I know you thought it was really interesting, the trust in like the establishments that they placed, like the CDC, and I think it was like Camp Nash or whatever the Navy place was, who was supposed to be helping them. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, but not as specific, but the levels of trust and misdirection and mistrust and secret keeping. Even among the girls, there was secrets. But
Mm-hmm.
we talked about I trust you with my life, but I don't trust you with like my personal business. Or,
Yeah.
in this expectation of adults to be almost like heroic in these kind of times of crisis where you kind of expect adults to be the ones who take a lot of the burden and who are going to be transparent because they care about children. And there was none of that. There was a front of that. Um, and it's kind of like everyone's worst fears. Everyone's like, I don't trust the government. And they're like, this book was that. It was like, I want to.
Yes.
And it was very relatable. It almost humanized adults where they're still people. they're still people, and like the girls were not heroes. So,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, Hale just called me. You can edit that out, Tim. Sorry.
But I
um,
agree, it's a relatable situation because we're in this extreme situation in our own reality. Kids are looking to their parents and to the government and, the healthcare system, the CDC, whoever, like, you're going to fix it, right?
yeah,
I just
right.
know you are.
You're
You
right.
fix everything. And the parents
Um,
kind of have on this front, like, of course, honey, it's going to be okay. We're going to be fine. But the reality is, we don't know if we're going to be fine. And in Wilder Girls, it was like you found out the government really did kind of give up on them. And they weren't, oh, spoiler alert, sorry. They weren't trying to find a cure. They were kind of trying to experiment with the tox. They were like really interested in what it was, but they did not care that it was hurting the girls because it was an isolated population. And that's really scary.
yeah, and it made it. I think that's another where this situation seems so unreal. We haven't experienced a tox where we grow limbs and we turn into things. Spoiler alert. But the reactions from the characters felt very real. We're going through a pandemic, and all of us are like, I want to trust the government. And then some of us are like, but you can't. Like, you can't. And
Yeah.
there's evidence that maybe we shouldn't, but where else do you turn? And we're
Yeah.
looking at adults, and adults are not inherently better because they're grown. They still are flawed people. You still have really good people. You still have really bad people. You still have people after money. You have people for a good cause. So it's very humanistic reactions. And that
Yes.
is scary because, people are scary. You don't know everyone. So it's very there are no like glorious heroes in this story, and that feels almost too real, and it makes the book scarier. It
Yeah.
wasn't the horror of the book that was scary. It was like the human value that was a little too, it like hit too close to home a little bit.
Yes, I agree. Like it was marketed as horror, but the whole time I read it, I was like, this doesn't feel like a horror book that I have read. And I was like, maybe it's because it's like YA, they toned it down, but really it just felt very like dystopian and that like, things are ending, we can't trust our government, things like that. But then they had all these horrible mutations. You're right, that's not what was scary. And it wasn't scary to them either. And the way it was written really portrayed that. They were just like, yeah, so and so has a claw for her hand now. She's still cool. I still hang out with her. You know, my eye is shut and there's definitely something behind it that's alive. Whatever, I got other things to worry about. And they just rolled with it. And the reality is, like, right now, as things are happening, of course, they're not like these physical extreme things, but we're kind of just rolling with them as a society because what else do you do but keep going? But that is really scary because, like, they didn't know the outcome and we don't know the outcome. And that's like the root of everything. That is really terrifying.
I agree. There's a certain kind of do or die aspect to our quarantine and their talk situation where it's kind of you adapt because there's no other choice. Like you didn't get a choice in saying I don't want to hang out with anyone with mutations because you would be lonely. Everyone had them. And just like now, we don't really have that much choice, and this is to stay safe. This is kind of protect, so we isolate. We like stay at home, and we adapted just fine. I thought it would be really weird, but it's not. It's just like, oh well, now I'm filming in my house up against a wall, so it's fine. Like I'm doing
Yes,
my book
if
club
you told me
online.
a year ago I was gonna have to be like this booktuber type person and that you and I were gonna do a virtual book club, I would have been like, I am not a YouTuber. No, thank you. But when I was told a week ago I had to do that, I was like, cool, this is what the community needs. This is what we're gonna do. And we were just like, yeah, okay, we'll do it. And I think the girls in the book were like that too. It was just like, with the guns, they were like, I've never had a gun before until the talks came, but since it infected all the animals on the island and now they're dangerous, they had like gun class every week. And that was totally normal for them. Like every crazy extreme thing that came up, they were just like, there is no alternative, so I'm going to adapt to live this way. And, we're doing the same thing. Like everybody has to wear masks to the grocery store, and your grandma has to stay home so you can go get groceries for her and things like that. Maybe you don't want to do it, but that's what you have to do.
I think it that's another humanistic aspect of this book, where we don't give ourselves enough credit for our ability to adapt, to just drop whatever we've been doing for the past 10 years and go, well, we're going to do something else now. We're going to work from home. We're going to homeschool our kids, and
Yeah,
we don't give ourselves enough credit for our abilities. And it kind of makes these dystopian novels almost hopeful, almost a little like we could probably handle it. We are handling it. Like right now, there's a terrifying aspect that we have to, but it's kind of a little bit reassuring to know that we do. We do all the time. In that
yeah,
book, it kind of brings and highlights that aspect of adaptability. It makes it a little, it doesn't make it cheery by any means. It's not like a very like warm, cozy book, but it
yeah,
does demonstrate that we are a rallying kind of species, and they did, and we
yeah,
do. It did make it another level of relatability for me.
yeah. I felt like it kind of made me feel better about our real situation. And of course, not like in the extremist way, like, oh, thank God I didn't grow a second spine out of my back and tear my whole skin up. But like, it was just like we get to the end and we really don't know about a resolution for all of them. You know, a lot of people died. The government was like, we're not trying to find a cure. Sorry about it. And they were just like, you go into the ending and they're just going somewhere else trying to think maybe these people can help us. Don't know if we're going to infect anybody else, don't know if we're going to survive, but this is just what we're going to try to do. And in reality, I'm like, at least people are looking for a cure for what we're afraid of. And, we're all sticking together to figure it out. So it was kind of like there was no silver lining in the book, but it put a silver lining on my reality.
I I really like the way you just said that, the silver lining on your reality. I wonder in what ways this has brought other people's silver lining. Like I would love to hear back from some of our listeners about the things that have become their silver linings in all this. Is it that you get to spend more time with grandma, or so what is all this, or the book? Like, what would be your silver lining? Because that would be super curious to know. I mean, I would.
I kind of want to know how our listeners or the readers, how they would handle themselves in the book. Like if they were stuck on Raxter Island, do they think that they would just kind of be like really kick butt and like, I don't care, I'm going to go out there and fight it. I'm going to find a cure. Because I think so a lot of the characters would have wanted to do that, but the reality that the book presented was that that was not going to happen because the talks got into everything. It was in like the flowers and the crabs and the horses. It was in every single thing. Like they couldn't even drink their well water anymore because they were afraid it was like infected and it was going to get worse. So I think like the tox as a sensation, as a character, however you want to like put it, was like the strongest thing about the book. Yeah. What do you think about it?
I mean, yeah, I agree. It's almost kind of the talks was this all encompassing. I mean, it was the setting. Like if you're talking about classic book talks, theme, setting, plot, characters, the setting is the talks. It's also a character. It's everywhere and it rules everything. And um it almost kind of brings back those memories of like The Walking Dead, where like zombies are like almost a character in themselves, because
Mm-hmm.
it's entire the entire like situation is based on that one thing. And I mean, the talks to me is
Yeah.
like, it's terrifying because it's so real, especially now. I would have never thought like, oh, the whole globe would be infected with something, but it kind of shows me how very possible a tox is. Maybe not like a mutating tox, but it's terrifying and it's really scary. And I would want to be like that brave person who's like, but I'm gonna save the babies. But I don't know if I would be. And it makes me doubt myself and it makes me question like, who would I be? Who am I now? Like in this situation, what am I doing now? And I would love
Yeah.
to see people's before and afters a little bit, like what I would have thought before this happened or what I would have thought after, or
Yeah.
did it change? I would love to hear some comments and feedback from that.
Yes. Or if anybody really thinks that they were going to be that kick butt person, like you would want to be, how are they being kick butt in reality? Are they donating masks to healthcare workers? Or what are they doing? Are they doing food drives for people who don't have access to things? There are ways in reality that we can fight this in our own way, rather than even if we can't go out and like develop a whole cure because we're not all amazing scientists. But I think there's little ways where we can all kind of contribute and collectively kick butt, which is nice.
A great sentiment to end on because we are quickly running out of time of our allotment. But on that note, there was a boy in my neighborhood, and he lives across the street from me, and he was dropping like care packages off at all the neighbors' house. And I thought that
That's
was like it's so sweet. It's like the sweetest thing. And he was like knocking on the doors and like running away so he wouldn't get caught. And I was like, yeah, that's like um as weird as this has all been, it hasn't been horrible because I think people really have been showing like have been stepping up, like heroes in their own way, and I think that's been really cool.
yeah.
And I would love to hear some of those stories, like personal stories, or like I haven't done anything amazing. I like walk my dog every day, and he's really pretty, so you're welcome. But I don't know how to sew, so I'm just doing my
Yeah.
librarian and I'm trying to stay positive and help my mom. She can't go to the grocery store. So, like I would love to hear how people are stepping up in their small ways because that's what you gotta do. So,
How they're being their own heroes.
yes, be your own hero. Yes. The theme of the talk, be your own hero. There we got it.
Okay, well, I guess I just want to say thanks everybody who tuned in to the new library channel to listen. And I hope that you all really enjoy the book. Or even if you don't enjoy the book, just think about it. Tell us what you think. We have a Discord chat for this book club, and we have a Goodreads link. So we will share both of those with you, and y'all can get on there and talk about it amongst yourselves, or you can just comment on this video. But Lane and I will be creeping, and we will see everything, and we will respond. And it's
And I
going to
have
be a really
been
good book.
super lonely, so I need people to talk to me. So I'd love to hear some comments, especially in the Discord, so we can chat with you. But
Yes,
drop it
love the
in
Discord.
and we'll link everything and tell us what you've been reading in this
Yes.
craziness. Our next book. So I think we will film again in 2 weeks,
Okay,
right? 2 weeks. And we're going to be talking about American Predator, right?
we can.
What are we supposed to talk? Wait,
I thought we
don't
were
re-
going to talk about The Princess Saves Herself, but I'd rather talk about American Predator because it's longer and it's like really immersive.
you so right. Let's do both.
Let's
We'll
do it.
do We'll do American Predator and then we'll talk about Princess Save Herself. That's two books you got to read. Princess Save
Yes.
Herself and American Predator. They are very different books. So
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think this was fun. This was a good talk.
Yes. Okay, I'm just gonna get off because we'll keep this up forever. And Kayla, thank you for the chat with me. And yeah, keep up with us on Discord, Facebook,
Mhm.
YouTube, all the social media. We're on it. This is Lane and Kayla from Chattahoochee Valley Libraries, Columbus Public Library.
We miss our library and we miss our patrons, and we can't wait to see you guys in real
So
life.
much in real life.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
We are springing into summer learning at the Chattahoochee Valley Libraries, and the program you just attended is one of the ways you can earn completions. Just go to cvlga.org and look for Spring into Summer Learning. You can register yourself and your family online, and then start reading and attending our online events. That's all you have to do. We're giving away weekly gift certificates, and every completion you make enters you into a grand prize drawing for tablets, games, gifts, and more. Remember, you have to register to win. cvlga.org, and we'll see you online again real soon.